Welcome back to Pollyanna Storytime. This is Chapter 5 in The Case of Princess Tomorrow. Chapter 5, The Big Bankroll. Downtown Fats snatched the envelope from Vicky's hand. He squinted at the wax seal like a jeweler examining a ruby. Nearby, Vicky heard Five Aces Alice speak to a tall gambler in a seersucker suit. "I don't think Princess Tomorrow could read tea leaves, Longshot. I'll give it 3 to 1 odds she picked losing horses." The man called Longshot had an easy smile. "Not bad." Downtown Fats finished with the envelope and handed it back to Vicky. "No one's jimmied the seal," he announced. "Everything looks on the up and square, Professor." "I remind you," said Professor Diabolo, "that my hands have not touched the envelope since yesterday morning. Before the race was run, yes." He picked up a newspaper and handed it to Downtown Fats. "Last night's sport final. Kindly turn to results at Emerald Meadows, 8th race." Downtown Fats found the page, and the professor turned to Vicky. "Break seal. Open the envelope." Downtown Fats ran his thick fingertip down the racing column. Vicky cracked open the seal and withdrew Princess Tomorrow's message. "The winner was," called Downtown Fats, "B flat. Ran the race in 1 minute 42 and 3/5 seconds. Vicky gazed at the black scrawl Princess Tomorrow had made across the top of the page. B flat, 1:42 and 3/5 seconds. She read it off, her voice sounding like an exact echo. A hush murmured rose from the crowd of gamblers. "Second and third place," said Downtown Fats, rattling the newspaper with nervous anticipation. "Candy Stick, La Bruja Blanco." Vicky stared at the balance of the prediction and the horses that had come in second and third. She could hardly believe her eyes. "Candy Stick, La Bruja Blanco," she read out. A babble of voices erupted in the room. The gamblers were amazed. "Princess Tomorrow did it! I'll bet you whatchamacallit, she has the power to see into the future!" Vicky couldn't explain it, but she didn't believe it. Downtown Fats was waving a fistful of $100 bills. "Get your money, boys! The princess might be persuaded to go back into that trance and give us the results of this afternoon's race in advance. We'll make a fortune!" Professor Diabolo held up his hands in protest. Gentlemen, that would not be proper. This was only a scientific experiment." "Would $25,000 make it proper?" Downtown Fats replied. "Gents, pony up. Get out your bankrolls. It's a sure thing. Are you in, Five Aces Alice? How about you, Longshot?" Five Aces Alice dug into her beaded bag, wet a thumb, and began counting out large bills. Her eyes danced with greed. But Longshot only smiled. "I'll pass," he said. "I never won a dime on a sure thing." Ricardo drew Vicky aside. "Princess Tomorrow might be able to see into the future, but she sure doesn't know Spanish." "What's wrong?" "Look at the letter. Look at what she wrote for the name of that horse." "Which one?" "La Bruja Blanco." "What are you getting at, Ricardo?" "Spanish endings have to match. It should be La Bruja Blanca. Blanca with an A, not an O." "What does that mean?" "The White Witch. Think it's a clue, Vicky?" "As you said, there hasn't been a crime yet, but I think it's about to be committed. Look!" She gestured toward Professor Diabolo. He was lowering his hands in a gesture of defeat and accepting the big bankroll. All right. He counted the bills as quickly and skillfully as a bank teller. "Just this once, yes." Professor Diabolo pocketed the $25,000. If this was a con game, a swindle, thought Vicky, he had just broken the law. He clapped his hands. As before, Princess Tomorrow appeared from the next room. She carried the lapdog and seated herself at the desk. The quill pen, inkwell, and paper were waiting. Downtown Fats' face was glowing like a Halloween pumpkin. "How about the third race? My favorite filly, Crazy Feet, is running." The professor began making hand passes before Princess Tomorrow's eyes. The gamblers fell silent. Once again, his fingers flicked magic and invisible lightning bolts. The princess's head nodded. Her eyes closed. She appeared to be in such a deep sleep that Vicky wondered if she might break into snores. "You are in the future, yes? This afternoon, yes?" asked the professor.
Yes. Do you see the third race? Yes. Pick up the pin. Wait for the winning horse to cross finish line. Then let the spirits guide your hand.
Long moments passed. Then her hand rose from her lap. She picked up the quill pen and dipped the end into the inkwell. The silence in the room was broken by the scratching of pen against paper. She finished and the pen dropped from her fingers. Professor Diabolo spoke.
Return to the present.
He snapped his fingers and she awoke. Without favoring the gamblers with the merest glance, she tucked the Pekingese under her arm and left the room. Zack fingered the dog whistle in his shirt pocket. It was all he could do to resist giving it a blast. Professor Diabolo waved the sheet of stationery in the air to dry the ink. "Well, what does it say?" blurted Downtown Fats. He appeared to be about to explode with curiosity. Professor Diabolo adjusted his rimless glasses and began to read.
Winner, Hayburner the third. Second place, Crazy Feet. Third place, Stormalong.
The gamblers leapt to their feet and rushed off to place their bets. "Let's get rich quick," said Downtown Fats. The room emptied except for Longshot. He lingered at the door, his friendly face looking as cool as a seersucker suit. He gave the professor a grin. "I wouldn't want to be in your shoes if they get poor quick." Professor Diabolo folded a couple of greenbacks and handed them to Vicky.
To the Bloodhound detectives for services rendered, yes.
"I'll write you a receipt," said Vicky.
That won't be necessary.
"I insist." She wanted a closer look at the stamp jar. She crossed to the table, picked up the pen, and wrote out the receipt. All the while she kept glancing at the sponge in the jar, swimming in water. The business with the stamps still bothered her. Why so much water? When she finished with the pen, she casually dunked a finger into the jar. Turning, she handed Professor Diabolo the receipt. Behind her back, she rubbed her fingers together to test the feel of the liquid. Join us next time for Chapter 6 in the Case of Princess Tomorrow.